How do I describe this show? Arrow will always have a special place in my heart. I remember watching that scene with Moira's death, and I remember cringing because it caught me so off guard because I was not ready for her death. And the show in general is just awesome, especially the beginning seasons. They're so amazing. When I say seasons 1 and 2, those amazing seasons. Speaking of, it's time to talk about what this video is really about. Let's begin. The rise, fall, and rise again of Arrow. Arrow Season 1 has a basic premise. Oliver Queen was stranded on an island for 5 years, and now he has come home with only one goal: to save his city. And by doing that, he crosses off names off of his list that his father gave him before he died. Arrow Season 1 honestly is one of my favorites. I feel like it was amazing, especially considering that in the comics, the Green Arrow is all lighthearted, funny, and, helps everybody around him, with a joke. But in this one, he is all angry and stuff, and, it's dark. And honestly, I just love how they took a spin on that. And I think it was just amazing what they did. I feel like it was just great. Season 1 is definitely one of my favorites. It's definitely in my top 3 for sure. I just love this season. Now, for the episodes. Episode 1 begins with Oliver Queen showing dialogue saying how they found him on this island and you're just dropped in. You're in the middle of it. You just get dropped in. The 5 years have already passed and now Oliver Queen is being saved. You don't know what happened. You don't know anything. All you know is Oliver Queen was just saved off of this island. Now he's all dark, mysterious. And they show flashbacks showing how he was before that. And I love that premise. The flashbacks, they're just amazing. The flashbacks are definitely the best part of season 1. And at some parts, the flashbacks are better than the actual show itself. I will say that for an absolute fact. The flashbacks do get better and better and better. Maybe not coming to season 3, but we'll get to season 3 eventually. Now, it's time to talk about what this series was truly about. Once Oliver Queen returns and he's crossing off names off of his list, he develops a sense that something bad is going to happen in the city. And maybe so, maybe not, his mom is a part of it. And he doesn't want to believe it, but his partner, John Diggle, is trying to tell him that, yes, she is a part of it. Something bad is going to happen in this city. And he doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't want to believe that his mom is a part of this. But John is trying to tell him that, yes, she is. And you have to take her down. And he doesn't. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to believe it until the evidence is truly told. And he finally figures out that his mom definitely is a part of what's going to happen. And what's going to happen is a part of Starling City, the place of where he's at, is going to be leveled, a part of it. There is going to be a big earthquake and it is going to destroy that part of the city. And he realizes that he has to stop it. But the one that's doing it, the one that's the head of this, is Malcolm Merlyn. Oliver, now realizing that he has to take him down, he realizes that he may have to take his mom down with him, but he does not want to do that because he doesn't get a chance to, because his mom reveals that she has been working with Malcolm. And when I say this moment was so heartbreaking, because she did it in front of her daughter and in front of the media, in front of everybody. She was later arrested, and then eventually Oliver does take down Malcolm. But that is the thing about this season. It does not end with a happy ending. The Glades, the part where Malcolm wanted to lure it, yes, he did it. The Glades are destroyed and it does not end with a happy ending. This also ends with Oliver's best friend, Tommy Merlyn, Malcolm Merlyn's son, also dying as well. And that is just heartbreaking. It's sad. And it does not end with a happy ending. But now, it is time to talk about Season 2. And now it is time to talk about one of the best seasons of Arrow. Starting up in 2013, season 2 was amazing because season 2 took chances. This was the first season where superpowers were introduced, super strength, and this was also our first introduction to Barry Allen, which would also spin off into a whole new series known as The Flash. This was our first introduction to the Black Canary, and it was just amazing because you didn't know who it was, because originally in the comics, Laurel is supposed to be the Black Canary, but so far you can see her, she has combat, but it's not Black Canary level. The way she was fighting, it definitely couldn't have been Laurel. So it just spun out into who could this new mysterious woman be, because you knew for a fact that it wasn't Laurel. Although she did have combat, scenes, it definitely was not her. So who could this have been? Turns out it was a spin on a whole new original character that the series makers that they made. Turns out it was Sarah Lance, Laurel's sister, who was the new Black Canary, and it was just amazing seeing how you thought she died when the boat went down, but turns out she's alive. And actually on the island, her and Oliver actually met each other, but then she unfortunately died again, but now it turns out she's alive, and it was just amazing because you thought she was dead. And also the main villain of this series, of this season, Slade Wilson, was honestly amazing. This was a great season altogether. Everything was just amazing. It had a great villain, great season finale. It had everything that you needed in the series, which pains me to talk about this next season. This season is an interesting topic because it had its ups and it definitely had its downs. Starting with the downs, number one, they kill off Sarah in the first episode, which was just a bad decision because she helped so much in season 2. So at the beginning of season 1, to kill her off was just a bad decision. And it was just awful. And then Felicity, Oliver's love interest, was just dried, and it was awful, and their relationship was not that good at all. I honestly would have settled for Laurel, but she does not become a love interest in these later seasons, and I think they could have just done more, seeing how Laurel is the love interest for Oliver in the comics, and I think they just could have done more, sadly, but they didn't. Another down was honestly the villain, Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul is a very good character in the comics, but also he is a Batman villain and should stay a Batman villain because all he was just talking. I will admit, in the later episodes, as it goes forward, he does get a lot better. But in those beginning parts, he was very, very dry and not really that good of a villain. But at the same time, there are more downs, but I'm going to go to the ups. This was the first season where The Flash was fully The Flash because the Flash series had just taken off, because last season, in season 2 of Arrow, it had Barry getting struck by lightning. Really, where the first episode of The Flash started, it really ended for him right there. So now, seeing how he is fully The Flash now, and he's talking to Oliver about some advice to give him, and Oliver is telling him to wear a mask because he helped him so much in season 2 to get a mask. So now it is just amazing to see The Flash because he does make appearances in this show while also at the same time doing his show, and I think that is just amazing. This is also the season where Ray Palmer, the Atom, gets introduced, which was really just another way to boost up Legends of Tomorrow, so you can be introduced to these characters instead of just dropping them on your head. But it was good to see the Atom. The actor that plays him is honestly amazing, and the fact that he becomes a love interest for Felicity for a little while is very interesting to me. And also Felicity, she needs to be talked about. Felicity is the love interest for Oliver. At the start of the season, they begin dating, but Oliver realizes that he needs to fully become the Arrow and he needs to stop being Oliver Queen, which was amazing because it is something taken straight out of a Batman comic, because Batman says that Bruce Wayne is really the mask. He's really the actor, but Batman is his true self. And honestly, I think that is just amazing, seeing how Arrow is just like Batman. And, he realizes that they need to stop dating. So her and Ray Palmer being a couple is very interesting to me, to say the least. I will say that this is also the season where we get Arsenal, Roy Harper, being the sidekick to the Arrow. And honestly, I love Arsenal, so I think that is just amazing. The actor that played Roy was so good. I'm really sad that he had to leave due to all of his anxiety, and he did leave the cast early, but I do think that he did good with what he gave, and faking his death was just amazing. But now it is time to talk about the Downs. Oliver's sister, Thea, she dies because of Ra's al Ghul wanting Oliver to take up on his offer to become the new Ra's al Ghul, and he kind of halfway kills her, so they have to bring her back through the Lazarus pit. While they do that, she comes back, but she comes back with blood loss, and that was so bad. I did not want to see that. All she was just super angry. She would just lose it on everybody that she fought, and I think that could have been so good, but they just dried it out, because at the same time, she was the one that killed Sarah, and she was being mind controlled by her father so that he could get out of the league. It was so bad because they revealed it way too late. It was already dried out, and it was just bad. And then she gets brought back in season 4, and we'll get to that one when we get to season 4. That messed my entire mind up, and I was just so bored of that storyline. It was so trash, and I really, really do not like it. And also, speaking of Sarah, it is time to talk about Laurel being the Black Canary. That decision was going to happen eventually, yes, but I think they did it way too fast. I think she realizes that her sister's dead, and she realizes that she has to do some good. She wants to do some good in this city. And honestly, yes, I agree, but I think she should have been grieving for just a little while longer, and then realize that she wants to do some good in this city. And then eventually she starts training. She does really, really bad. She gets beat up. But then she starts to learn the ropes a little bit, which, yeah, I get it. But, she learns the ropes in, a couple of episodes. And that, I don't think that was a good decision to make. I think she should have been struggling for just a little while longer. Then her and Oliver should have been training together. And it was just a really bad decision, but it was going to happen eventually. She does become the Black Canary, and then in season 4, we'll get to season 4. I'll get to season 4 eventually. And, I think, yeah, it was going to happen. So I just think she should have been grieving just a little bit longer. Ra's al Ghul was not a good villain. He had moments, I will say that. Ra's al Ghul had moments, but he was not a good villain, because later in the season, yes, he does become good, but it's way too dried out, because the final fight between him and Oliver is so bad, because you are Ra's al Ghul. This man has been living for over 500 years, and I think the fact that he lost his own move that he did on Oliver to nearly basically kill him, and the fact that he lost to him with that, and he's been living for 500 years, I just don't know. I think that was just a really bad decision. I think the fight could have been so much more, but they just didn't do it at all, and that was just so bad. And now it is time to talk about Season 4 of Arrow. At the beginning, before it even started, season 4 had a lot of hype to it because they revealed some details and they showed off an entirely new suit, and everyone was loving it because the third season was not as loved as the first two. So now there was a little hiccup, but now they're going to get back on track. That is not what happened. Season 4 is the worst Arrow season. Honestly, if I'm talking straight, it is the worst season of television I have ever watched. Season 4 is so bad, and one of those reasons is the main villain, Damien Darhk. The actor, he played Damien good, but Damien does not fit in the Arrow universe, especially just the Arrow show. It may fit in other things, but the Arrow show, it does not belong in. Arrow is supposed to be grounded and about street thugs. Yes, they did have the Flash and all of that, but they kept it on that, and then they moved on to do other things. But this was all about what the season was about: superpowers. Damien Darhk was a awful villain. And also, you remember when Sarah died? Yeah, they brought her back. But not only did they bring her back, they had her on for, I say like 2 episodes. And then she left right after that to go do Legends of Tomorrow. That decision, there was just no need to kill off Sarah in general. And I think that was just a bad decision. And then they realized that they were going to make Legends of Tomorrow. So then they realized they had to bring back Sarah. They shouldn't have killed her in general. Season 4 is awful. I have read some reviews and some people say that they started season 4 and they didn't even finish it. They just went straight to season 5 because they couldn't even watch season 4. I finished season 4, but it felt like a chore. This show I loved so much, it made me hate it because season 4 was so bad. It felt like I had to watch it. You know, it was not that good of a season. There was no need for superpowers to be in it because it felt like Damien Darhk was too overpowered to beat these people with absolutely zero superpowers. And it was just so bad. And also, I didn't get to talk about this in the season 3 area, but the flashbacks. The flashbacks in season 3 to 4 are so bad. When I tell you, I hated these island flashbacks. The first 2 seasons are the best island flashbacks ever. But now, after season 3, it was so bad because in season 3, he was in Hong Kong. But now, he's back on the island. But now, there's this guy searching there. And he also ends up getting superpowers, which was so bad. Such a bad decision on their part. And also, this was supposed to be how he was stranded on this island for 5 years. And you find out what happened. They take him off the island in season 3, and then they put him back on the island. And then in season 5, they make him go into Russia, and then he returns back to the island. That is so bad and just disrespects everything that the pilot did, showing how he lived through this war on this island. And it was just a bad decision, and I did not like these island flashbacks at all. The love interest on the island, honestly, the actor, I bet she is amazing in everything that she does, but she was not interesting at all, and I had no interest in her. And also, Felicity. Felicity gets even worse this season. In this season, Oliver finds out that he has a son, which was also discussed before in a previous season, how he had a son, but his mom made it go away and made it seem like Oliver had lost the baby. And now, revealed through Barry, he realizes that he has a son and he wants to get to know his son, but Samantha, the mother, is telling him, no, if you want to have a relationship with my son, then you cannot tell anybody that you have a son. But Oliver wants to tell Felicity, but Samantha already said that he can't if he wants a relationship with his son, William. And yes, that is harsh, but here is where the problem starts. After getting that information, knowing that he cannot tell Felicity, literally only, I'd say, a couple hours later, Felicity is all in his face, asking him why she didn't tell him about his son. And he's trying to explain to her that he couldn't. And that has made a lot of people mad on how Felicity was mad. And not only was she mad, later in a few episodes later, I think, she breaks up with him because he didn't tell her about his son, even though he couldn't. Because if he did tell her, then he wouldn't have a relationship with his son. And that made a lot of people upset, myself included, because he couldn't even tell her that he had a son, because he wouldn't be able to see his son at all if he did tell her. And she broke things off with him, and that just made a lot of people upset and made Felicity very, very, very unlikable. This is also the season where ratings were very, very, very low for the show, because season 4 was just so unenjoyable and very, very boring and stale. And now it is time to talk about why most people say they hate this season.
Man of my word.
That is just another reason why people do not like season 4, the death of Laurel Lance. It was something that was very, very unneeded. The actor herself said that it didn't really need to happen and that she didn't like the death. And that is just another reason why people do not like season 4 of Arrow. I'm going to end this video right here, but I will be making a part 2 covering seasons 5, 6, 7, and 8.